Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome. The Doctor is in, and we are continuing our playthrough, or read-through, rather, of Umineko When They Cry, Legend of the Golden Witch. All right. So let us get back into this. That's right, we need to load from our save file here. The boat gave a big shudder. Seems we've docked at the harbor. The boat driver came out and jumped to the pier with the mooring rope. A large man in a tuxedo was waiting there for us with a warm smile. I didn't recognize his face, but judging by his clothes, I guessed he was a servant of the Ushiromiya head household. Welcome home, milady. You were so late in returning that I began to worry. Ah, thanks for caring. This moron got so scared, we had to slow down. It was seriously annoying. Shut up! Someday when the shoe's on the other foot, you'll remember this. Ugh. At this rate, word will spread to the whole family, and I'll be the big conversation piece during dinner. Even without this, everyone would be talking about me because of that 6-year gap, but now I've given them an even juicier topic. Ah, damn it, why does the Ushiromiya head family have to live on this isolated island? In the meantime, the boat had finished its mooring. A small plank was lowered so that we could get down. One by one, our parents came up from inside the boat. You must all be quite tired from your long trip. Madam, please allow me to assist you. Thank you. It's been a while, Goda-san. How are you? I thank you for your concern. It's always my pleasure to serve. Battler-kun, isn't this your first time meeting Goda-san? If I'm not mistaken, you weren't working here 6 years ago, right? Indeed. So please allow me to greet him for the first time. It is an honor to meet you, Battler-sama. I'm pretty confident about my height, but you're huge. This is definitely our first meeting. I'd never forget meeting a big guy like you. It's a pleasure. I'm Battler. I was looking forward to meeting you. I am Goda, your servant, and I have been working for the Ushiromiya head family since the year before last. Apparently there's a typo there. Ah, what a pity. It is a pleasure to make your acquaintance. If there's anything you need, please feel free to rely on me at any time. Goda-san, it has been some time. It has been too long, George-sama. Please allow me to assist you. As usual, you're a pro at welcoming guests. If you ever need a job, just let me know, okay? I'd hire you anytime. You do me too much honor. Please allow me to assist you, Hideyoshi-sama. Goda-san then lent a hand to everyone as they disembarked, greeting them as they passed. His speech and mannerisms had the refined polish of a professional. He was very graceful, in contrast with his initially tough-looking appearance. His large size made him seem a bit scary at first, but he was much more polite than my first impression had led me to believe. He claimed to have served on the island for 2 years, but he had doubtless worked at a similar job somewhere before. After everybody disembarked, the mooring rope was untied and the boat started to steer away from the harbor. It was probably returning to its home port on Nijima. The captain waved his hand in farewell. Maria conscientiously waved her hand back. Now that I think about it, that must be why I felt something out of place for a while now. I can't hear the cries of the seagulls. Seagulls? The birds? If I remember correctly, whenever we came to this island in the past, the seagulls always greeted us with their lively "nya-nya" cries. Because of that, whenever I hear the cries of seagulls anywhere else, I get the feeling that I'm coming to a family conference. Except for the small part of the island where those of the Ushiromiya head family live, Rokonjima has been left uncultivated, which apparently makes it a paradise for wild birds. Supposedly there was a cliff somewhere that housed a huge seagull colony, so this island was always full of seagulls. Not having those seagulls here to greet us made me feel a bit lonely. What's wrong, Battler-kun? Oh, Aunt Rosa. Nah, it's nothing really. I was just thinking it's a bit lonely without the cries of the seagulls. Aye, that's true now that you mention it. Even though they're always so noisy, today there isn't one to be seen. Ooh, why no seagulls? Maybe it's because the seagulls are having a get-together somewhere too? Maria, did you want to see the seagulls? Ooh, wanted to see them. Still, it's a bit strange that there isn't even a single one around. Maybe Jessica grilled them all and ate them. Ooh? The hell? Don't say disturbing stuff like that! Look at Maria believing it! Ooh, ooh, ooh! Jessica and A-chan grilled them! Jessica and A-chan grilled them! Ooh! I did not! I did not! Why the hell would I do something like that? That's right, Jessica grilled them! Skin and meatballs, liver and onion! Swim in meat dolls! Liver and onion! Ooh, ooh, ooh! As I made fun of Jessica, Maria tagged along, looking like she was having fun. I never guessed she was such a good sport. Alrighty then, from today on, I'll make you my #1 follower. As I smiled at her, she beamed, looking overjoyed, possibly because she was happy about this little connection we'd made with each other. That's not it, Maria-chan. I've heard wild birds are attuned to changes in the weather and atmospheric pressure. The weather will probably get worse tonight. The seagulls might have returned to their nests early. Ooh. Not grilled? Jessica and A-chan didn't grill them? Oh, no! I wouldn't do something like that! Battle, you admit right now that you lied! Battler-kun, Maria-chan is a naive girl, so she takes even jokes seriously. You should choose your jokes more carefully. George Aniki gently scolded me. Even though I outstripped Aniki in height, Aniki was Aniki, of course. There was no choice but to obediently apologize. Sure. My bad. Maria, that was a joke. The seagulls are all taking it easy in their nests today, that's all. Battler lied? George Oni-chan told the truth? Had she actually been tricked despite all that fun she was having? Her pure eyes made me feel guilty. Maybe I went a little overboard with her after all. Yeah, that's right, that's right. What George Aniki said is true. The weather's bad, so they probably went home for the day. It doesn't mean they're gone. Right, Aunt Rosa? That's right. Tomorrow when the weather gets better, I'm sure they'll come back so we can hear them cry nya nya like they always do. Ooh, I'll wait till the weather gets better and then come back. Gonna wait until tomorrow. Gonna wait till the weather's better. Ooh. Maria was in a lighter mood and was looking forward to tomorrow when the seagulls would come back and fill the skies. Still, George Aniki was really amazing at taking care of kids. I think I remember Aniki taking good care of me as well when I was a brat 6 years ago. Aniki, that's probably your gift. George-kun is amazing at taking care of young kids. If you wanted to, I bet you'd do a great job in childcare, don't you think? Yeah, it's almost like George Nissan was born to do something like that. Personally, I think it'd suit you better than doing business in some company president's office. Oh, no. Childcare is a fine career path, but it's not a job where merely liking children is enough. You really are modest, George-kun. But Battler-kun is quite good with children, too. Just a second ago, even though it didn't last long, Maria seemed to be having a lot of fun. Please keep on playing with her like you just did now. Just choose your jokes more carefully, okay? Aunt Rosa winked at me, giggling a little. She's a real mother, I thought to myself, who's happy to see Maria having fun. Come on, Rosa. And you brats, too. What the hell are you doing? Let's get going. Okay, we're coming. The old bastard was waving for us to hurry up. Yeah, we need to get moving. We might as well have this conversation after sending our luggage down in our rooms. Now then, everyone, allow me to lead you to the guest house where you'll be spending the night. Please, this way. Goda-san called to everyone and led the way. Kumasawa-san brought up the rear. A serpentine twisting path led through a dim forest. It ran a bit uphill. I'd guess the path was made all twisty so the slope wouldn't seem too steep. But personally, I'd have been happier if they just had the guts to make some stairs in a straight line. No doubt they made the path twist on purpose to put on airs of distance and importance. Before long, we saw some garden-style stone steps. From here on, I do have some memories. Go up these, and... At the top of the stone steps, we saw a beautiful guest house. Its facade was lovely, of course, but more importantly, we couldn't enter its doors without having our hearts stolen away by the splendor of the beautiful rose garden spreading before it. Ah! It's as beautiful as ever this year. Real delight for the eyes. After climbing the stone steps, the people greeted this rose garden gave voice to their impressions one by one. Is it just me, or are the flowers a little less lively this year? It's probably because it wasn't that hot this summer. I also believe that was a factor. Sadly, this year's blooming is a tad inferior when compared to last year's. Even so, it was a delightful rose garden. I remember that even 6 years ago, huge numbers of roses had greeted us every year. This rose garden was the first thing that greeted the people who came to Rokkanjima. Even our parents who came every year couldn't help but give voice to their admiration. In fact, it seemed to have undergone a power-up from the garden in my memories of 6 years ago. This place is always so amazing. It would be wonderful to have a rose garden like this at home. Give it up. Who do you think would take care of it? Roses are a real pain with bugs and diseases to worry about. Well, from what I've heard, Kirie-ne-san takes care of her rose every day and makes sure no bugs get anywhere near it, right? Huh? What are you talking about? That's right. Though in this person's case, the rose goes after the insects like some nasty carnivorous plant. Oh, so that's what you mean. Come on, Rosa, can't you give that a rest just for today? I put that sort of thing completely behind me. I wonder... After all, you're a womanizer on almost a genetic level. Okay, I need to turn the music down just a smidge if I can. That is just a little loud to me. Let's see... There we go. No need to worry, Rosa-san. When a rose gives you too much trouble, it's always best to snip it at the root. Oh, such frightening talk this is.
Guys who are popular with the ladies are always forced to live dangerously. I sure hope I turn about a bit prettier in my next life.
Hideyoshi-Nissan, like I keep saying, it isn't like that at all. And Kyrie, stop it, you're freaking me out. You've made my rose wilt. Hey, Maria-chan, look over here. These roses are especially magnificent. Magnificent roses. Ooh. Smells pretty sweet. Look, this suits my elegance perfectly. Hey, cut it out! Maria's gonna imitate you and get hurt by the thorns. She yelled at me as I leaned in to smell the rose's scent with an exaggerated gesture. I thought she was overreacting, but when I turned around, I saw Maria imitating my every gesture and George Aniki smiling broadly at us. Hey now, Maria-chan, be careful. Rose thorns can hurt. Ooh? George Oni-chan. Only this rose is strange. Ooh. Strange? What's wrong? Maria pointed at a single rose. I immediately understood why she found it odd. In the midst of all these magnificent roses, one single rose was just starting to wilt. There wasn't any particular reason. Some roses flourish and others wilt. That's all there was to it, but Maria seemed very concerned about the only unhealthy one in the group. It must have made her feel lonely. So you feel sad for this rose because it's the only one that isn't healthy? Ooh. The others are all healthy, but this one's sad. Well, they all bloom and wither at their own paces. I'll bet this one's just starting to wilt early because it got to bloom before any of the others. That's right. Probably just bloomed like crazy, fulfilled its duty, and went to sleep. You shouldn't get so worked up about it. Ooh. It seemed that Maria's pure, sensitive nature was making her feel some emotional pain for the rose that wilted alone. Even though she understood the logic of it, it still felt lonely to her. Then, Maria-chan, why don't you look over after this rose after we leave? I mean, until we leave. Ooh? George Aniki straightened up and felt around in his pocket. He then took out the wrapper from the candy he'd been sucking on the plane. He twisted it into a thin string, then gently tied it to the rose as a sort of marker. Hey, that's pretty cute! Let's mark it with this. Later on, you can come and give it some water. I'm sure Mr. Rose will be happy. Ooh! Come to give it water! I think you should give Mr. Rose here a name. I'm sure that'll make it happy, and you'll get to know it a little bit better. A name? A name. Ooh, ooh. Though she still wore her usual sullen face, Maria crossed her arm and began to consider this intently. At the very least, she appeared to have been completely pulled out of her slump. Nice going, Aniki. George Nissan has always been really understanding. Can't help but respect him. Yeah. I guess he was just born that way. We gotta start picking up tips. Was this garden just as magnificent when you were all kids? It was only after I stopped living here that it grew so big. Before that, the garden was simpler, though I'm still attached to that one. Oh, you know why? It's her toxic presence that's been eliminated from the island, and so they're allowed to flourish now. Nissan fiddled with it too much, with that vaguely bad taste of his. I liked it much better before.
Ava, you gotta think positive. Setting aside how it used to look, its beauty now is something to be admired. You'll be able to relax a lot better if you look at it that way.
I didn't mean it like that. I was just saying that I wanted you to see this garden the way it was before, too. Everyone, if you please, I shall guide you to your rooms now. Goda-san called to everyone to ask if we were ready, but our hearts had been completely stolen away by the rose garden that none of us had seen for a year, so we didn't pay much attention to him. Well, none of us had seen for a year, except me, who it's been 6 years, but splitting hairs here. Since we were in a travel group, it wasn't like we had a strict schedule to follow. Besides, since our parents were visiting their old home full of nostalgia, it wasn't like they had to let themselves be urged on by anyone or anything. Understanding the situation, Goda-san continued to wait, smiling widely, until our parents got tired of the roses and told him to guide us to our rooms.
Oh? Hey! If it ain't Kanen-kun! It's been so long, how you doing?
Uncle Hideyoshi suddenly shouted. In the direction he was waving was a slender boy. Meeting him right after a huge man like Goda probably emphasized his small stature. The boy was in the middle of transporting piled-up gardening tools and the like in the wheelbarrow. When he realized he was being called to stop, he set down the wheelbarrow, took his hat off, and bowed his head. Good afternoon. I figured he was probably younger than me, and I realized by the general atmosphere surrounding him that he was another servant. He greeted us in response to Uncle Hideyoshi's call, but he seemed like he might be pretty unsociable most of the time. It was a greeting that lacked feeling. When Goda-san noticed that our interest had shifted towards him, he went to the boy's side and introduced him to us. Battler-sama, allow me to introduce you. This is one of the servants of the Ushiromiya head household. Kanen-san, greet our guest. I'm pleased to meet you. I'm the servant, Kanen. Okay, we've got a tip here. Well, grimoire to be precise. No. Oh, no, not a tip. Sorry. We have a character introduced. Kanen, a young servant, performs his duties silently and diligently, but due to his unsociable nature, he is not so highly regarded as a servant. There are several other servants with the own character in their pseudonyms. He and Shannon just happen to be the ones on duty that day. Ushiromiya Jessica. Kraus and Natsuhi's daughter. In the absence of any irregularities, it is thought that she will eventually inherit the headship of the Ushiromiya family, or rather her husband will. However, she seems to have no interest at all in any of this. Born with weak bronchi and sometimes assailed by sudden asthma attacks. Ushiromiya Ava, Kinzo's second child, hostile toward her brother Kraus and opposes him in almost everything, from issues dealing with the family fortune to the question of who will succeed the family headship. Normally, she would have lost her place in the Ushiromiya register upon her marriage, but she managed to forcibly overcome this by having her husband take her family name. Speaking of, this is Ushiromiya Hideyoshi, Ava's husband. He took his wife's name upon their marriage and was welcomed into the Ushiromiya family. Though he does not possess the spiteful Ushiromiya genes and his therefore, he does not possess the spiteful Ushiromiya genes, and his bright smile is very refreshing at the family conferences. He started his business from scratch and now works as the president of a company operating medium-sized restaurant chains. Apparently, business is soaring and things are going extremely well. Ushiromiya George, Ava and Hideyoshi's son, an affable young man liked by everyone in the family. He is currently studying as an assistant for his father's company, and it seems he dreams of making it on his own one day. The oldest of the four cousins, he acts acts as their leader and arbitrator. Ushiromiya Rudolph, Kinzo's third child. Along with his sister Ava, he intends to make his voice heard during the family conference to prevent their elder sibling, Kraus, from keeping all their father's wealth for himself. Lost his former wife, Asumu, 6 years ago and married his current wife, Kyrie, straight after that. Ushiromiya Kyrie, Rudolph's second wife. They had been business partners for a considerable length of time before the passing of his first wife, at which time she openly took the position. Served as Rudolph's right hand in several shady pieces of business, guiding them to success. Quick thinking and deeply trusted by her husband. Ushiromiya Battler, the son of Rudolph and his first wife Asumu, turned against his father 6 years ago when he married a second wife immediately after Asumu passed on. He went to live with his grandparents on his mother's side. However, both these grandparents passed away, and he has now returned to the Ushiromiya family after 6 years. This family conference is a chance for him to renew his friendship with his cousins after a 6-year gap. Ushiromiya Rosa, Kinzo's fourth child. By far the youngest of the 4 siblings, it seems that this gives her a weaker position at the family conference. She manages a design company, but she has yet to start taking it seriously, and its financial situation is far from favorable. Ushiromiya Maria, Rosa's daughter. Her father's identity is unknown. She can't shake off the habit of speaking like a young child, which often earns her a scolding. She has no interest in studying or making friends, but she is very interested in things concerning the occult and black magic, and thanks to her excellent powers of memorization, she knows all kinds of obscure trivia. Well, they say repetition is good for memorization, and Lord knows she repeats a lot. Goda Toshiro, servant employed as a chef. While he hasn't served the family long, he has a polished talent for entertaining guests, cultivated through his previous jobs, and is highly regarded as a servant. Since he was hired by Kraus and his wife, he is more trusted than those servants who have served the family longer and who are thought of as Kinzo's spies. Kumasawa Chiyo, this elderly woman, is a part-timer who has served the family for a great many years, despite quitting her job several times along the way. Shrewd and more than competent when it comes to performing her duties, but because of her chattiness and love of rumors, she is not highly regarded as a servant. Okay, so back to Canon. Yep, my first impression wasn't wrong. He seemed to be unsociable, or at least not so good at talking. Oh. Compared to Goda-san, who was extraordinarily polished as a servant. You couldn't help but feel an inexperience typical of his age. When Goda-san urged him in a whisper to give a bit more of an introduction, the boy named Canon only cast his eyes downwards. Canon-san, could you perhaps give them a little more of a greeting? No, because we are furniture. He didn't seem to be refusing to greet us out of spite. Rather, he seemed to have fallen silent because he didn't know what else to say to us in greeting. But, well, Canon-kun's shy and doesn't tend to talk much. He might not be that sociable, but deep down he's a really good person. Don't get him wrong. You've been working here for 3 years, haven't you? Pretty sure you started a year before Goda-san, right? Even though he wasn't exactly giving a terrible first impression, Jessica hurriedly backed him up. I see. Apparently his unsociable nature causes him trouble a lot. Okay then, nice to meet you. I'm Battler. I'm 18. How old are you? He fell silent as though wondering whether or not it was a question he'd have to answer. But here again, Jessica plowed ahead. If I remember correctly, Canon's 2 years younger than us, so 16, right? Yes, that is correct. It looked as like he would have preferred not to tell us his age if given the choice. That was probably because he thought we'd look down on him for it. I remember that when I was around his age, I hated being asked how old I was by adults. I see. 16, huh? That's gotta be a delicate time. Which means I probably asked something I shouldn't have. I'm glad you're about our age. Just be cool and call me Battler. And I'll call you Canon. Thank you very much. But the sentiment alone is sufficient, Battler-sama. Jessica looked panicky for some reason. She seemed to think my impression of Cannon was getting worse because of his refusal. Okay, hold up. I gotta adjust my seat. There we go. Well, as a girl, Jessica probably couldn't understand the fretful male heart at this age. As his elder, even just by 2 years, I took it upon myself to be understanding of that. Cannon-san, could you perhaps be a little more courteous? The smiling face is also part of a servant's duty. My apologies. I shall make an effort. Goda-san, Cannon-kun is trying his best, yes? It looked like he was often warned about being unsociable, and apparently he hadn't improved one bit. Goda-san kept his business smile, but let a small sigh of resignation escape. Well then, I still have work to do. If you'll excuse me. It looked like Cannon himself was uncomfortable with remaining silent here any longer. After another perfunctory bow, he turned around and started pushing the wheelbarrow again. Just then, the wheelbarrow suddenly wobbled and fell, scattering the load. I guess the wheelbarrow's single wheel got caught on a pebble and lost its balance. What do you think you're doing? Now, clean it up quickly! Goda-san urged him to hurry in a quiet voice, as though hinting that it was shameful for a servant to appear clumsy in front of guests. Cannon-kun wordlessly reloaded the wheelbarrow with the fallen objects, as if to say that he understood quite well without being told. He seemed to be fine with the light-looking gardening tools, shovels, and such, but he looked like he was having trouble getting his arms around and lifting up some sacks of fertilizer. Are you okay? You're so careless. Here. Milady, you'll dirty your garments. Please, leave this to us. With a smooth motion, Goda-san took the shovel that Jessica had picked up. Behind him, Cannon-kun was having trouble with the sacks of fertilizer. Ooh, you'll dirty your garments. Don't worry, the ones I'm wearing aren't that expensive. Besides, I hate guys who just sit there and make the waitress pick up the fork they dropped at a restaurant. I lifted up the other bags that had fallen. Of course, they weren't light, but for me it was a piece of cake. Cannon-kun looked at me, surprised. It was the face of someone who'd never expected to receive help from a guest. Butler-sama, don't worry about it. I will take care of everything, so... Don't you worry. I may not look it, but I've got it where it counts. Since Cannon-kun looked like he hadn't yet gone through his growth spurt, he was stuck with a sort of weak body. This kind of weight might have been too much for him. It's quite heavy. It's natural that it would be difficult for you. Don't worry about it, Cannon-kun. Okay, my time to shine. This makes up for the boat stuff from before, right? Ha! As if this could make up for freaking out like that. Later, I'll tell you about it too, Cannon-kun. Balor was totally hilarious. Gonna fall! Fall! Ooh, ooh, ooh! As I did this, I piled all the stuff back in the wheelbarrow. I beg your forgiveness for letting you witness such unsightliness. Come now, that's quite enough. Please, go. Letting the guests who were supposed to feel welcome see such a disgraceful thing must have been hideously embarrassing for a servant. Pressed by Goda to hurry up and go, Cannon-kun left. You're too harsh on him, Goda-san. Shouldn't you have helped him instead of being a bully? That was wrong of me. I deeply implore your forgiveness. Without even a twitch in his smile, Goda-san apologized elegantly. Cannon-kun has a ton of things he's good at, too. It's just that being young works against him all the time. It's a crying shame. Well, it's a prickly age. Let's just leave him be. After all, closed-mouthed servants are the best kind. Isn't that right, Kumasawa-san? Oh, Rudolph-sama, you truly are harsh. There is no servant as silent as me, of course. Everyone smiled wryly at that obvious lie. Even she herself didn't believe that, not in her wildest dreams. So she must have said it to lighten the mood. Yeah, that's the kind of character Kumasawa Bachan used to be. The once stiff atmosphere had cleared up at once thanks to her cheerful smile. I'd like to set our luggage down soon. Goda-san, what rooms are we all going to take? It shall be the same as the previous year. Allow me to guide you. Please, this way. We headed towards a trim, elegantly simple guest house. This was going to be our temporary quarters for the night. Cannon watched over ahead. Wait. Is Battler the narrator for this one? I can't remember. I'll stick with him until I... Cannon watched over ahead as the guests all entered the guest house. Then he let his eyes fall on those heavy sacks of fertilizer piled up in the wheelbarrow. In his mind, he kept going over his previous mistake. Battler, big and strong, had picked up the sacks in front of him, the sacks Cannon couldn't lift himself as if they were feathers. It would be extremely difficult for an outside observer to guess what emotions that favor had stirred up in Cannon. But as far as you could tell by watching him hang his head, there was something that he just couldn't let go of. Muttered words escaped his lips, but those words he murmured were so soft that they didn't even reach his own ears. Even I... Cannon hugged his head, slightly biting his lower lip. I remember the Rose Garden, but I don't remember this guest house at all. Was it built recently? Terrari and Visitor's Retreat was written on a gatepost-like thing, but since everyone called it the guest house, I followed their lead. The brand new Western-style guest house, which stood overlooking the roses, had a magnificent design carefully done in harmony with the garden. Correct! It was built the year before last. Ever since then, they've had us sleep over here. This place is more fun than that junky old mansion you knew. I wish my room was over here. Ooh, I want a room here too. I want one. I guess you could say my own house was upper class, but to me it felt completely ordinary compared to the head family. The display of wealth was shocking, as was the fact that they'd built this kind of awesome guest house for guests who came over only a few times a year. Eva-sama, Hideyoshi-sama, please do make use of this room. Rudolph-sama, Kirie-sama, please take this room here. I really do love how beautiful and elegant this place is. Western-style architecture truly is wonderful.
I can handle Western design for a few days, but any longer than that, you need the good old Japanese look. Japanese people just relax best on tatami mats.
Is it tatami or tatami? I don't know. They've been fighting over whether to make our new house Japanese style or Western style. Mom still holds a grudge about Dad having the construction started with the Japanese layout, and they bicker all the time about it. I'm really jealous, George and Isan. Your parents get along well, don't they? Mine are so frosty. Then again, they're always in sync when it comes to my grades. All the rooms seemed to be for two people. I was grateful since I wasn't going to be forced to share the same room with the old bastard under the pretext that we were family. And anyway, I figured those two wouldn't be able to enjoy themselves with someone like me around. What's with that creepy smile? You're thinking about something dirty, aren't you? Something dirty? Of course not. Please enjoy your stay. That hurts, you old bastard! Once again, Dad pulled my ears from behind. Cut the crap. I'm getting a stomachache and I'm not in the mood for this. You're the guest of honor this time around, so play as nice as possible with Dad and Aniki and the rest. Thank you for the lurk, Mickey. Happy Halloween. How are you today? At the very least, be careful what you say in front of Dad. Got it? Because wisecracks don't go too well with him. Jessica-chan, what's the head's mood been like lately? Same as last year, I guess. Considering they say he's got 3 months left to live, he's as lively, grumpy, and irritable as ever. Doing alright, Chibi's still sick, so we've barely done anything. Oh, I'm sorry. Meaning this year, he's in his usual bad mood. And as usual, the only one who's able to look after him is Genji-san? It seems the master will open his heart to no one else. Lately, us small people have not even been granted an audience with him. He shut himself up in his study again, probably doing nothing but that weird black magic of his. What he does for a hobby is his own damn business, but when he starts stinking up the house, it really gets on my nerves. Wish he'd never come out of that study again. You shouldn't talk like that about the elderly. We're all indebted to him since he rebuilt the Ushiromiya family. We should be more grateful. Well... Sorry. After being rebuked by George Aniki, Jessica had no choice but to take back her thoughtless remark. The Ushiromiya family was wealthy beyond belief, but of course that meant all its members were a bit strange, and completely out of touch with the world at large. And at the top of the chain, the family head, our grandfather, seemed especially strange and terrifying, even for our family. Dad said he was getting a stomachache earlier, and I imagine that reflected the honest feelings of all the adults here today. No doubt they were jealous of us grandchildren who could just play around and laugh without a care. From the stories Dad told me, the family head was a violent man who ruled with his fist, beating his children, even his daughters, mercilessly with a wooden sword. If he was so strict and uptight about that, why couldn't he have been a little bit more conservative with his kids' names? Because of that, even us grandkids have had to suffer. Anyway, I can't say I have any trouble believing those terrifying stories about him. I don't remember meeting him very often, but I think I recall him looking extremely grumpy all the time, always making people cower with that sharp gaze of his. I remember that the room's atmosphere got so tense whenever he was around you couldn't even breathe. What my dad said about me being the guest of honor now carries a little more oomph to me, for me. 6 years ago, I was in elementary school, but I'm a high schooler now. If I act up, things get serious. Ooh, scary. He does look frightening, but he's not so terrifying that you need to tense up like that. Nothing of what he says is truly unreasonable. He may be clumsy at talking, but he's a very logical person. But Georgie-san, you've been the family darling since like forever because of your awesome grades, right? Grandfather treats us completely different. I've even got slapped with a wooden sword. On my ass! My ass! On my maidenly innocent ass! Dialogue. Well, you're the heiress of the head family, Jessica-chan. Grandfather is giving you special attention. I don't like the way your glasses are fogging over when you're saying this. You've got to realize that his strictness reflects his high hopes for you. Oh, come on. Seriously, I could just turn the succession over to you, Georgie-san. It's a bit of a heavy burden for me to carry. I think I already said it before, but Jessica's the girl heir to the head family. We're only cousins in branch families, so she probably feels a totally different sort of pressure than we do. Ooh. Jessica-chan, is that heavy? If I help hold it, will it get lighter? Thanks. It's okay, I'm not going to push it on you, Maria. I'm going to bear this cross until my grave. Don't worry. She was grateful for Maria's innocent concern, but Jessica's face still seemed to contain some of the uneasiness she felt towards the future. Maybe we were in the same boat. Any high schooler with exams approaching would have trouble hiding their anxiety for the future. Maria, come here. You and I will be in this room. Battler-kun, I heard you're going to be with me in this room here. Oh? Now there's a surprise. It's bigger than our parents' rooms, dang! Well, I figured we cousins would all want to hang out together. So I told them to get a bigger room ready. Ooh, I like it here more too. I'd rather be here than with Mama. Ooh, ooh. Oh, you like it better here too, Maria? Okay, this room is George and mine, but we'll give you special permission to come in. Better keep it a secret from your mom, okay? Ooh, it's a secret! Aunt Rosa was right behind us, but Maria still answered, striking the air with her fists clenched tight. After setting down their luggage in their rooms, our parents had gathered again in the corridor. Hey, what are you brats planning to do? Are you cousins just gonna stay here and chat? Seemed they were heading to the mansion to announce their arrival. Normally, they would make us follow them and greet everyone together. But if that had been the case, Dad would have just told us to come, and that'd be the end of it. He's saying it's okay if we don't come, so what'll we do?
Well, it's gonna be lunchtime before long anyway. Better let the kids unwind here. Besides, if worse come to worse, this might be their last chance to play outdoors.
Ooh, I'll go too. Maria, you house sit for Mama, okay? Behave yourself and wait here. Ooh.
1 second. I gotta send this message real quick. Okay, done.
Since Maria was being told to house sit here, we certainly couldn't leave her on her own. George Aniki noticed this immediately and gave a clear reply for all of us cousins. Well then, we'll accept your offer and house sit. We've got lots of stories to tell each other after being away for a year. That sounds wonderful. And Battler-kun has 6 years worth of stories to tell, doesn't he? Yeah. I'll take care of this house like a good boy. Kumasawa-san, I'm gonna stay here too. We'll break rank and leave the rest to the adults. Perhaps that would be best. I'll report it to Madam. Then allow me to guide you all to the mansion. This way, please. The other children are one thing, but George is getting to be an adult. Wouldn't it be better if he came with us?
If we make him come, then poor George will be the only one out of place. Interacting with his cousins is also important. Okay, see y'all later.
The adults left one after the other. They left in the same formation as our trip from the harbor, with Goda-san leading and Kumasawa-san taking up the rear. As we gathered in the room assigned to us cousins, George Aniki asked us to excuse him for a second. He rushed over to Kumasawa-san, who was following behind the disappearing adults, and he seemed to ask her something. He soon finished his business and came back. What's up, Aniki? Oh. Nothing. I just wanted to ask her something. Ooh, tell me too. Tell me too. I really hate how the official translation removed her first-person speak. But what are you gonna do? What could George Nissan be asking Kumasawa-san and not me, I wonder? I don't have a clue. No, it's a misunderstanding. Not that I know what you're misunderstanding. Aniki was getting pretty tongue-tied. It was almost as though he felt guilty about something, and Jessica knew exactly what he was worried about. At any rate, it's no fun if Jessica gets to know about it and not me. Hey, Maria. It looks like we're the only two out of the loop, right? Don't you want to know what it is they're talking about? Ooh! We want to know too! We want to know too! Ooh, ooh, ooh! Battler joining in the ooze, man. I fooled around while oohing together with Maria. No, I'm telling you, it's no big deal. Liar! I'm surprised you'd tell such a terrible lie, Aniki. Confess! Maria, you tickle his right side, I'll tickle his left. Ooh! I got his right side, Battler got his left. Ooh! Your Honor, I would like to cross-examine the parrot. Wait a second! Wait, you two! Stop! Maria and I played around chasing George Aniki as he tried to escape, rolling on the bed. I realize high schoolers aren't supposed to bounce around like kittens, but I still miss this kind of fun. Warm, cozy kind of fun. George Nissan, what were you asking Kumasawa-san? Well, I've got a good guess. It's been a year since the last time you visited the head family. Who knows what servants might have come and gone during that time. Either way, it looks like he'd like to go and say hi. Who? Say hi! I want to say hi too! What the hell? That's nothing to feel guilty about, Aniki. I'm not buying it. Maria, don't be fooled. Aniki's still hiding something. More torture! Ooh-yah! Stop it! Seriously! Maria Jen, you too! Stop already! She's probably busy cleaning or getting lunch ready. Don't worry, she'll drop by to say hi sooner or later. I bet you'd rather have been welcomed in by Shannon instead of that nosy Goda. Shannon? Shannon. Ah! Yeah, I remember a girl with that name. She's still a servant. How's she doing?
By the way, Natsuhine-san, how's your headache been lately? Seemed pretty serious before.
I have been much better lately. Thank you for your concern. Oh, right, here. A present for you, Natsuhine-san. Thank you very much. I'm always receiving gifts from you. Is this black tea? It's herb tea with peppermint and lemon balm. It's a blend from a well-known store and it's supposed to be good for headaches. I thought it might help you too.
Rosa was always a conscientious woman. Probably because she was the youngest of four and much younger than the other three. She managed to grow up without gaining the venomous nature of her siblings. Her kind words got Natsuhi to soften her expression for just a moment. But it wasn't enough to melt her stony gaze, hardened as it was by long years of mental stress. Come to think of it, you're always complaining about those headaches. Pull yourself together. Jessica-chan has her emails. This is before email was invented. Jessica-chan has her exams this year, right? That's going to be a turning point in her life. Will she really be able to rely on you as a mother if you're like that? Besides, Natsuhine-san, you're 3 years younger than me. You should get your act together. I apologize. I've had a tendency for headaches all my life. Even under normal circumstances, Ava sometimes failed to choose her words carefully, but her comments aimed at Natsuhi contained shards of obvious malice, though she hid it with a smile. Of course, that fact didn't escape Natsuhi. She frantically contained her urge to grimace and pretended to ignore Ava.
Our Battler-kun will have his exams this year too. Rudolph-san, shouldn't you be a little concerned as well? For the sake of your own son, you'd better get serious to the point of having headaches like Natsuhine-san.
Hold on. I think I missed something. No, I didn't? Okay. If I say anything, he automatically rebels. So what should I say? Should I say the opposites, that it's okay for him to mess around? That's probably the only way I could get him to listen to me. Hideyoshi Nissan, George did really well on his exams, right? Please, you've got to teach me the trick to handling children. Well, it's probably because I got him to understand why I should study. Studying ain't worth anything on its own. That's right, the real point of studying is to practice this research and stuff on your own whenever you bump into something you don't know. If you can't do that, you can't be useful to society. I'm not talking about math or writing. You gotta learn how to learn.
That's splendid. I wish our Jessica could understand that as well. If she is to be the heiress of the Ushiromiya family, then at this rate... Do you really have to force her into becoming the successor? After all, a woman has to find a woman's happiness. Parents shouldn't force such things on their children, don't you think?
Hold your horses, Ava. Each family has its own way of raising their kids. You shouldn't be pushy.
I'm sorry. Natsuhine-san, don't take it the wrong way.
Though the light shining in through the window was quite warm despite the cloudy weather, there was a dark mood about the room, which was probably causing headaches for more than just Natsuhi. As if to sweep away that mood, Kyrie brightly made a suggestion to all present.
Still, this black tea has a really lovely aroma. Let's drink it right away. In Japan, surely you couldn't find something like Leopold's black tea anywhere but Ginza, right?
There we go, hydrating.
I see you know a lot about it, Kirie-san. I guess it was worth going to the trouble of buying it.
Kyrie and Rosa stood up from their seats and made as if to prepare the black tea, but Natsuhi forestalled them.
I thank you both, but we can try that later. One of our people will soon be coming to bring some tea, so please relax.
Leave it for later, you two. Let's enjoy our welcome drink. Rudolph gave a subtle signal with his eyes for them to sit down again. Kyrie and Rosa understood instantly and obediently returned to their seats. The initial greeting of the guests was complete, so it was time for them to be served some tea. It was embarrassing for the host that the tea was late, especially now that the guests were talking about making tea themselves. Natsuhi bit her lower lip, frustrated by the ineptitude of the servants who were late bringing in the tea. Seeing her face, Ava immediately started to giggle. Of course, Shannon had no way of knowing what was taking place in the parlor. She came pushing a serving cart filled with teacups. For no apparent reason, Natsuhi gave her a pained look, and Shannon couldn't help but flinch without knowing what she had done wrong.
Excuse me. Your tea is ready.
Oh, Shannon-chan, it's been a while. You keep getting prettier every time I see you.
Thanks. Save the chatting for after you've set the table. The tea will get cold. I apologize, madam.
She apologized like a small, frightened animal, bumped against the serving cart, and made a jarring racket as she dropped several teaspoons. Her clumsiness made Natsuhi's expression turn even darker, which made Shannon quail even more.
Come on, Natsuhine-san. There's nothing wrong with her exchanging a few words in greeting. The tea must be plenty cold already, considering how long we've been kept waiting. There's no need to worry. It's not cold yet. Shannon, finish setting the table, quickly. I'm sorry, madam.
Natsuhi's irritation was obvious by now. The ineptitude that delayed the tea, the clumsiness of the servant, everything pointed to the incompetence of Natsuhi's everyday leadership, making her lose face. As the person in charge of the Ushiromiya head family's kitchen, allowing that clumsiness to be exposed, today of all days, was surely nothing less than total humiliation. Lay off, Natsuhine-san. Don't you think it's a little harsh to bully Shannon-chan when she's trying her best?
I'm not bullying anyone. What a nice aroma. May I ask what brand this is?
I'm terribly sorry. I'll find out for you later. Kiria was trying to be nice, hoping to cut through the tense mood. However, Shannon had embarrassed herself instead, darkening Natsuhi's face and the room's mood. By this point, Ava was audibly giggling. What's this? Shannon-chan, don't you even know what you're pouring us? Come now, you mustn't serve something so suspicious to guests. We'll need a silver spoon at the very least before we can drink this. I'm sorry. I'll go get one immediately. Shannon-chan, do you know what silver spoons are used for? They have to be silver. Do you know why? No, A teasing smile rose to Ava's face as she stared at Shannon setting the table. By itself, Ava's expression was sweet in an impish sort of way. However, the words being spun from her lips held the keenness of a razor within them. Shannon tried with all her might to avoid Ava's continuing gaze. Realizing that Shannon was hard-pressed for an answer, Rosa gave some timely help. They say that if silver is touched by poison, it darkens. Guess you've learned something today, Shannon-chan. They were acting as though this tea needed to be tested for poison before it could be drunk. In Natsuhi's eyes, this was an insult both to the tea and to herself for serving it. Rudolph laughed flippantly and patted Ava's shoulder. Silver cutlery wouldn't do any good for you, Aniki. Just one lick of your poisonous tongue and even a silver plate would turn pitch black. Since I get to hear that poisoned tongue every day, I must be poison-proof myself by now. Ava, I don't mind when you use it on me, but you'd better hold back when talking to people who haven't built up a resistance. Yeah, build up an immunity to arcane lickings. My, how cruel. All I did was teach Shannon-chan a bit about tea, didn't I? Everyone followed the lead set by Hideyoshi's horse laugh and chuckled, though not easily. Only Natsuhi didn't join in, but for the time being, the conversation inside the parlor could now be mistaken for a lively and friendly chat. As Shannon finally finished setting the tea table and tried to leave, Kirie apologized to her in a low voice for not being able to help. Okay, one moment, I gotta adjust my seat again. Oh dear. Okay, let's try that. Need to raise the mic a bit. There, perfect. Shannon gave a light bow and made a hasty retreat. Shannon cast her eyes downward as she pushed the cart down the corridor. Anyone seeing the pitiful way she looked might easily conclude that she'd been bullied in some way. Don't be sad. You didn't do anything wrong, Nei-san. You were watching. That is my role. Madam and Ava-sama can go to hell, but the worst coward is that guy. Cannon glared hatefully in the opposite direction of the parlor. The preparations for the tea had been delayed by some trifling problems in the kitchen. These problems were not Shannon's fault. In fact, it had been Goto's mistake. After all, there was no way a show-off like Goto would give up a flashy job like bringing in tea when the guests arrived. He had ended up wasting time preparing the tea once again. So when he realized he wouldn't be able to score any points for this job, he pushed the task of setting the table on Shannon, who happened to be passing by. You might call it a clever move on his part, but there could be no doubt that it was a cowardly one. It's okay, Canon-kun. Thanks. I'm not bothered by it at all.
Cannon's silence vividly expressed the distance between Shannon's words and how she actually felt.
Thank you. Even if you're the only one who understands, I feel a bit better. You keep your feelings too bottled up, Nei-san. You should be less hard on yourself for once. Yeah. Thanks.
Suddenly, they both felt someone's presence who whirled around. A middle-aged man stood there. He was Genji, the head servant. What are you doing there? Shannon, hurry back to the kitchen.
Yes. If you'll excuse me.
Shannon humbly obeyed and promptly made to push the cart and leave. However, Cannon appealed to Genji in silence, bearing something in his eyes that he could not express in words. What is it? Did something happen?
Shannon didn't do anything wrong. But even so, there... Stop it, Canon-kun. Please, excuse me. I'll return to work immediately. Canon-kun, you should go back to your post too. Please? If you say so, Nei-san.
If that is all, then go. Hi. Sorry. Yes. What am I doing? Quoting the Japanese for... Okay.
Yes. If you'll excuse me.
From the shadows in the hallway, an old woman wearing an apron watched over them. It was Kumasawa.
Poor Shannon-san, Canon-san. There's no reason for those two to be picked on. Still, Goda-san's dislike for them is an undeniable fact. Until Goda-san was taken in by the Ushiromiya head family, I hear he worked for a fabulous hotel somewhere. The manner of work he learned there was quite impressive, I believe. It's just that Goda-san is the newest servant here. He must have a lot of pride accumulated from his previous positions. Because Shannon-san and Canon-kun are his seniors here at the mansion, and yet are inexperienced and have gone through much less in life than he has, he picks on them at every chance he gets. And also, sad as it may be, they are disliked by Madame Natsuhi too. Of course, if we're talking about experience, the Madame has been in this family much longer. And yet, this is one point where I cannot help but sympathize with the Madame as well. Truly, the Master is a man with many sins on his conscience. Why didn't he realize that such a trifling whim of his would give the Madame such an inferiority complex? Of course, on the inside, even the Madame is fully aware that those two don't deserve to be treated so harshly. However, the heart has reasons that reason knows not. Ah, I feel so sorry for them. I can't do anything but watch over them from the shadows.
Okay, that is a chapter break, so I'm going to take a moment to stretch, and I'll be right back. And we're back. The four of us cousins were enjoying our stories, just shooting the breeze. Anyway, there were both guys and girls here. Girls and guys. No, whatever you want, order you want to put them in. Plus, we had people over a wide spread of ages. Adult, high school, and elementary school. Even if we just talked about our own lives, the other three kept listening attentively. I think I'm finally getting used to all this. Jessica and Maria have grown more than I could have imagined the past 6 years. To be honest, I was feeling a bit uncomfortable, but talking like this, I guess that on the inside, nothing has really changed since back then. I agree. You haven't changed a bit, even after 6 years.
Hello there.
Hello there, Reeve. You're not at work, are you? Just, there may be something coming up where you probably wish you had headphones if you didn't. But anyway. Even though your body's gotten gigantic, you're still a kid inside. Ooh, I'm a kid too. I'm a kid too. Well, even if you aren't going to be a kid forever, are you, Maria? I mean, you're going to transform from a kid into a cute young lady, aren't you? And when that happens, that flat as a board chest will reach Jessica's level, huh? When that happens, you gotta let me touch him, okay? It's a promise. Ooh, let you touch him. Promise. Ooh. No, Maria-chan! You can't make that kind of promise. That's bad, bad, bad! Ooh, I promise, so I'll let him touch him. I keep my promises. Always keep them. Ooh. Maria, you really are an earnest, good girl. The guy you marry is going to be really lucky. Hey, stop trying to change the subject by making it sound pretty! Okay. Hope that's going well. Hey, try... Maria, that promise never happened. Never! Ooh, the promise is canceled? Ooh. As I thought, without Battler-kun and our little quartet, this group of cousins just didn't feel complete. These 6 years have been kind of lonely. That's true. We didn't really goof off like this. Still, we did have some pretty constructive conversations, right? Stuff about preparing for a future, exam taking, finding jobs. Oh, I'm so sorry. Now that I'm here, we just talk about stupid stuff and mess around. But I'm having more fun this year. Ooh. That's true. I agree, this year is the most fun yet. Maria's sincere words probably spoke for everyone present. Georgianiki stroked Maria's head, and she giggled like a happy kitten. I didn't know kittens giggled. Pardon me. Your meal is ready. A timid knocking sound and the equally timid voice of a young woman came through the door. Jessica answered brightly. Shannon, come in! You remember Battler, right? Jessica stood up from the bed and opened the door. There stood a servant girl who must have been about our age. It's been quite some time since we last met, Battler-sama. It's nice to see you again after 6 years. It's me, Shannon. Trembling a little as she noticed me, she bowed deeply. Ah! Jessica had me surprised, but look at you, Shannon-chan. You've turned into a total beauty too, haven't you? You're too kind. Still, the food on this island must be really nutritional, huh? I mean, what are you eating and how are you trained to get boobs that big? Guess I'll have to feel them a bit to see whether yours or Jessica's are bigger, okay? With both hands poised and saliva dribbling from my mouth, I closed in. For the sake of justice and my personal honor, I'd like to point out that I do not suffer from some strange disease that makes my lymph nodes itch until I scratch my neck open, and which can only be prevented by fondling breasts. This is just a Battler-style method of communication. If I slowly close in on her like this, odds are 8 or 9 out of 10 that I get slapped or clobbered, right? So I can use this Battler-sama original technique to spark a gag like that and break the ice. Well, it also means I really do get to touch them on that 1 in 10 chance, though, right? Yeah, like that had ever happened. At that point, my hands were less than a centimeter away from Shannon-chan's boobs, but the counter-strike had yet to come. She blushed and lowered her head in embarrassment when she realized what was going on, but she just stood there with both hands politely joined in front of her, not even trying to resist or cover herself. I wasn't planning on this. Please hit me right now, or I'm seriously gonna... which is why I was glad that Jessica chose that to drive her elbow into the back of my head. Thank you so much, Jessica. But why the hell are you thanking me? Seriously, my bad, Shannon-chan. I almost got overwhelmed by your hypnotic chest. More importantly, anyone who gets that close has got to be molester. You gotta fight back when people do that. But you are an important guest, Battler-sama. Now look here! A pervert's a pervert whether he's a guest or not. A girl's chest has got an air defense identification range of about 10 centimeters or so. Once someone trespasses within 2 centimeters, that's already in airspace, so you better scramble the jets immediately and give them an instant slap! I couldn't do such a thing, because we are, furniture. Of course she didn't want her breasts touched, but if a guest so desired, she was prepared to sacrifice herself to suit their wants. A girl like this needs some urgent protection. To think such devoted girls existed in this era still. That's enough to make a man dizzy. But no! No! Whoa! I'm coming at you with a perverted face again. Knock me down! Look out! Pervert on the loose! This guy can't end until you deliver the punchline, so slap me! Please! Hit me! I cannot fulfill your request, because I'm furniture. This is actually the worst it gets. Like, it tones down significantly from here on out. Like you said, it's an ice-breaking technique, so he's usually only talking about it when he first gets into contact, well, face-to-face visual contact with a female. But if it were an order, I'd obey you, because that is my duty. Then I'll make it an order. The next time Battler-kun tries to touch your breast, counterattack with a slap. Got it? Yes. As you wish. From now on, that's what I'll do. Please understand, Battler-sama. Shannon announced this while bowing elegantly to me. Her expression was radiant. I gave her a thumbs up to show her I was fine with that. 6 years ago, you might have been mistaken for a servant's daughter who lent a hand at your parents' work. But now you're a full-fledged adult servant. How long have you been working here? Well, I've had the pleasure of serving this household for about 10 years. She's Shannon. The kanji for her name are read as Shannon, at least. Now here's another name that's far from typical for a Japanese person. Back in the day, I was a kid myself, so I accepted her name without paying it much attention. Thinking about it now, though, her name's pretty unusual, even though she's not a member of the Ushiromiya family. Maybe it's like a servant's professional name or something? If so, that might explain why her name's so similar to Kanon-kun, that kid I met earlier in the Rose Garden. She's a long-term servant who's served here since she was 6 years old. Her appearance had changed so much that I couldn't match her to the person in my memories, but we both knew each other 6 years ago. That shy part of her had always been there, but she did seem to have developed the allure you'd expect of a girl her age. Especially in her breasts, yes. That kid we met earlier, Kanon-kun, is her little brother. He's not exactly my little brother. Still, he loves me like a big sister. He didn't cause you any trouble, did he? He's the same as always. If only we're just a bit more sociable. I apologize if he's caused you any trouble. Nah, he didn't cause any trouble at all. This fellow man, I understand how moody he can get at that age. It's no surprise he's unsociable.
Who? I get called that all the time too. I get called unsociable. Just like Canon. Ooh. You aren't unsociable at all, Maria-sama. Who? Wanted to be like him. Who? You said the meal was ready, right? Ah, yes. I'm sorry. Your meal has been fully prepared, so please allow me to guide you all to the mansion.
Shannon bowed again formally and returned to her duty mode. Incidentally, her voice actress is the same voice actress who played Alphonse in Full Metal Alchemist, on the Japanese side. We realized that if we made her stick around for any more light conversation, it would actually make it harder for her to do her job. We got up off our butts to avoid interfering with her work any further. So, shall we go to the mansion? Everyone's probably hungry, right?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to Goda-san's food. That guy was apparently a chef at this famous hotel, so he's super good at cooking.
Oh, I can't wait. Let's go, Maria. We're gonna stuff ourselves like pigs.
Ooh, stuff ourselves like pigs.
No. You can't take everything Battle-kun says seriously, okay? Because he's always just joking around. Okay, let's go. Thanks, Aniki. Under Shannon-chan's guidance, we headed towards the mansion. Oh, I should have used... Oh, is that not working? Hold on. Let me check it myself. Uh-oh. Let me try resetting the sound alerts. Hold on. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. It's not working for you. That's what I thought. Come on here. Aw, kitty cat. No, why isn't it working? Oh, I hate it when this happens. Okay, let me check my sound alerts dashboard real quick and see if the URL has changed. Oh, wait. It says channel points is disabled? That's weird. Let me enable it and see what happens. Browser source refreshed. Let me try this now. Nope, still nothing. Hold on here. Got the overlay. I've got the sound alerts extension. Maybe I need to fix it on Twitch. It was just working like Wednesday, though. What's going on? Okay, that's enabled. Save settings. It's not even working if I go directly from the Sound Alerts website. I don't... Maybe I need to go over to my extension on Twitch and change something there. Apologize for the time that this is taking. It shouldn't be too much longer, I hope. Okay, should be on. An error occurred with channel points reward status. Okay, let me try one other thing here. Maybe... Okay, I got that. Let me try... Okay. It's clearly coming through the browser source. Let me try one more time from the points award thing. Huh. Okay. Yeah, for whatever reason, my channel points just aren't working for the sound alerts right now, so I apologize. Nothing I can do. Yeah, the ahaha dot wave, that one works because that's with the well, you see, I was playing those from the back end, but well, I wanted to know what was going on to see if it was something that I could fix, so thank you. But yeah, if there's any sound alerts that you'll want to play, you'll have to use the sound alerts extension and not use the channel point ones. So anyway, where was I? Let me real quick hydrate some, and then we'll continue. Met once again by the magnificent Rose Garden, we continued onward as the intimidating mansion of the Ushiromiya head family came into view. Well, yeah, again, I was playing WoW from the back end. It had apparently been built shortly after the war, so you could feel the dignity of almost a half-century hanging about it. The building was gorgeous on the surface, but old as it was, equipment such as its AC and heating were apparently quite frail. Yeah, afraid it only works if I'm going through the back end for whatever reason right now. According to Jessica, Midwinter was especially tough, what with all the drafts. Haven't these people ever heard of a kotatsu? Ah yes, the traditional American kotatsu in the American-style mansion. As we entered this entrance hall, an aged servant greeted us. Now him I remembered. Genji-san, who had been working here longer than anyone, filled the role of head servant. Let's go ahead and get some more characters' bios now that we've unlocked them. Okay, so we've now got Shannon and Genji added to the list. Shannon, a young but experienced servant. She's normally calm and performs her job flawlessly, but she messes up when she gets nervous. Furthermore, Shannon is nothing more than a pseudonym that she uses when on duty, not her real name. Genji, head servant, runaway Genji, leading all the other servants who work for the Ushiromiya family, has served Kinzo longer than any other and has earned his greatest trust. Since he serves Kinzo directly, Kraus and Natsuhi think of him as Kinzo's spy.
Battler-sama, it's been quite some time since we last met.
As our eyes met, he greeted me with a calm, composed voice. His bow wasn't as graceful or refined as Goda's, but despite its simplicity, it I can use words, guys. It communicated his feelings very well. Genji-san, it really has been a while. You look well.
Thank you. I have been quite well. And Battler-sama, you've become a splendid young man. You are beginning to resemble the master in his youth.
I look like grandfather. Guess that means grandfather was pretty popular with the ladies when he was young.
From here on, I shall take Shannon's place and accompany you. Please, come this way.
Shannon-chan bowed deeply and watched us leave. After that, we headed towards the dining room under Genji-san's guidance. Genji-san, just like Kumasawa-san, stood in stark contrast to us young people who had grown beyond recognition over the last 6 years. His appearance was exactly the same as in my memories from 6 years ago. It was though time had stopped since we last met. Genji-san was an extremely quiet and diligent person. He was basically grandfather's close aide or caregiver, and you might even call him grandfather's companion of many years. In fact, it seems like he was by grandfather's side even more often than my late grandmother was. According to Jessica, grandfather trusted him more than any of his blood relatives. But I wonder how long he served. I never got the details, but I heard something about him being here since the very beginning when this mansion was first constructed. Which would mean that he's dedicated half his life to serving here. It's easy to see why he's so trusted. As we passed through a massive hall that extended up into the second story of the mansion with no separating floor, I spotted something that hadn't existed in my memory of 6 years ago. It was an awfully big portrait hanging right in front of the stairs that rose to the second floor. Without thinking, I stopped walking, captivated by it. Since I stopped so fast, Maria, who was following behind me, ran into my back. Ooh? Sorry. Hey, Jessica, has that picture always been there? I pointed at the big, prominently displayed portrait in the hall. Everyone else stopped too. Oh, right. When you last came here, that hadn't been hung yet, had it? When was it again? Well, if my memory doesn't fail me, it was put on display sometime around the year before last.
You are correct, sir. In April of the year before last, the master put it on display there, having previously ordered a painter to create it.
Grandfather did that? So he paid to have it painted just for him, huh? The portrait suited this western mansion, and that woman in the elegant dress gave off a sense of refinement. I couldn't have guessed her age, but her sharp eyes and the strong will she seemed to possess made her look youthful. She seemed somehow different from the composed, middle-aged women you often see in famous pictures. If she'd had normal black hair, I might have assumed it was a portrait of my long-deceased grandmother in her prime. However, she had beautiful blonde hair and didn't look Japanese at all. So, just who is this lady? Maria answered that simple question enthusiastically, as if though proud she knew the answer. Ooh! I know! She's Beatrice! What? Beatrice. She's a witch. Didn't you ever hear stories about her long ago? A witch? You mean the witch of this island? I think I already said this, but Rokenjima is a small island only 10 kilometers in circumference. However, that's actually pretty massive considering that only the Ushiromiya family lives here. So, only the harbor and the area around the mansion were set up to be lived in. Beyond that, the island remained as untouched as when it was uninhabited. The vast and empty forest had absolutely no lights, phones, or people passing through. To understand how dangerous that is, you need to forget your common sense as a city dweller. After all, if you happen to fall down a hole in the depths of the forest and sprain your ankle, no one would come save you no matter how much you cried or screamed. Then once the sun went down, the forest would be wrapped in complete darkness since there were no streetlights. And since there were no signs, it'd be easy to get lost and confused, losing your sense of direction inside that dark forest. Nowadays, most people see a forest as a peaceful place. But to the people of bygone eras before the light of civilization drove out the night, forests were as geographically separated from civilization as the sea. They were oceans above ground.
Fishermen who go out into the ocean are putting their lives at risk despite their technical knowledge. About the butterflies from last night, you brought up Philemon because he appears as gold and yellow butterflies in Persona 1 and Q2. I could have sworn it was only... I could have sworn it was blue, but... yeah. Okay. Yeah. In the same way, hunters who go out into the forest are in danger despite having specialized knowledge of their own. If children were to go and play in such a dangerous forest, something terrible might happen. Someone's parents must have thought so. Maybe grandmother first said it, or maybe it was grandfather himself. Or perhaps the story has been passed down on this island since ancient times. There's a terrible witch in the forest, so you must not go in. At some point, this ghost story of Rokenjima was born. This is the legend of Rokenjima's witch. Roll credits! That's why when we talk about a witch on this island, we're referring to the master of that vast and savage forest. Come to think of it, when I stayed at this mansion as a little kid, during those eerie nights when the wind and rain poured down on the windows, I remember being terrified by a story of the forest witch who roamed around searching for human sacrifices. It usually is, except for those 2 instances, original butterfly color was yellow. Oh, okay. Gotcha. So, Beatrice, huh? When Aniki mentioned it, I searched my memory and was sure I recalled hearing a name like that when I was little. I see. Still, I totally forgot that the witch in that legend had an elegant name like Beatrice. So did grandfather go out of his way to have a portrait made just because we grandchildren didn't believe the story? She's the witch from grandfather's Delusions. Ever since he had this picture hanged, he's been having a harder and harder time telling the difference between truth and fantasy. To us, she's just a witch that exists in grandfather's mind, but to him, she's a being that, quote-unquote, exists on this island. Exists. He says he had that painting made because the rest of us would be incapable of understanding otherwise. The whole thing's creepy as hell.
Milady, this portrait is precious to the master. I beg of you, do not say such things in front of him.
I know. Even if you didn't tell me, I'd never do something like that. Jessica glanced at the portrait with an irritated gaze before turning away. Let's go. We're making everyone wait in the dining room. Ooh, I'm hungry. Only a small portion of this island was controlled by the Ushiromiya family. All the lawless remainder was the domain of the witch, Beatrice. You might even call her the true ruler of Rokenjima. I felt a faint revival of that unsettling sense of misfortune, which I felt when I learned of the tutelary god's shrine being struck by lightning. And I remember that Kumasawa-san tried to tell an ominous story about Rokenjima before Jessica had stopped her. I don't know what she was planning to tell us about this island, but I do know one thing. It isn't the Ushiromiya family that rules Rokenjima. It's the witch, Beatrice. That's right. After all, this is the witch's island. Battler! Ooh, you're slow! When I looked around, everyone was already heading towards the dining room. I hurriedly chased after them. We walked up to the huge double doors that led to the dining room. Genji-san knocked.
I have brought the children. Please pardon the intrusion.
The doors were open and we were invited inside. The dining room, which looked exactly like you'd imagine a rich person's dining room to be, had a super long table that was obviously positioned with no purpose other than to make the guests conscious of their rank. Our parents were already sitting in accordance with that ordering.
You're late, brats.
Hurry up and take a seat. The old bastard pressed us to sit. The only gaps in that group of people were the spots where we were supposed to sit, which only made us feel our tardiness all the more. The seat at the head of the table, called the incipience chair, was for the most highly ranked, reserved for grandfather. It was still empty. He probably wanted to show up last for dramatic effect. From the perspective of someone facing the incipient's chair head-on, the seating order went from left to right, with the lower-ranking seats progressing in rows of 2 further away from it. So the left-hand side of the first row, closest to the incipient's chair, was where Uncle Kraus should have sat, since he was the second highest in rank. It looked like he hadn't arrived yet, so that seat was empty. Across from his chair, on the right side of the first row, sat the eldest daughter of the family, Aunt Ava, who was the third highest in rank. The left-hand side of the second row was for the fourth highest in rank. There sat my damn dad, Rudolph, the third of the siblings. Across from him, on the right of the second row, sat Aunt Rosa, the youngest sibling. At this point, you might expect their husbands and wives to come next. But no, the left-hand seat in the third row, ranked number 6, belonged to Jessica. Opposite her was George Aniki. I sat next to Jessica, and Maria sat across from me. Then, finally next to me on the left-hand side of the fifth row sat Aunt Natsuhi, the 10th highest in rank. Opposite her was Uncle Hideyoshi. Next to Aunt Natsuhi, in the sixth row and in the final seat on the left-hand side sat Kirie-san. The seat opposite to Kirie-san was empty, even though silverware had been set there and everything. According to this ranking system, that spot was where Aunt Rosa's husband should be sitting. Even though he wasn't supposed to be coming, his place was made up. Normally, ranking systems of this sort give spouses equal positions as their partners, but the Ushiromiya family's system was unique. Maybe it's a remnant of male chauvinism. If you start with the assumption that a woman's womb is just something to be borrowed, then the children of direct descent would come first, directly followed by the grandchildren. In other words, spouses have no blood ties and are therefore placed at the end of the line. It's terrible, but by this system my grandmother would be ranked even lower than me, if she were still alive. In their youth, they obey their father. After they get married, their husband. After aging, their children. There's the old saying, women have no home in any realm. Long ago, when I was still incapable of figuring all this out, I thought it was so great that we could all chat in our little groups, adult siblings with adult siblings and cousins with cousins. However, now that I can re-examine the seating order after growing up a bit, it stirs up some very complicated feelings in me. Aunt Natsuhi was who he was married to the eldest son and was the de facto number 2 in managing this family, sat to my right, which meant that she was 2 steps lower than me in the ranking order. It's hard to imagine what might be going inside her heart. That's why I made a small apologetic gesture towards her before sitting down. It's nice to see you, Battler-kun. You've grown quite tall, haven't you? Oh, yeah. 6 long years of eating well, sampling various cuisines, and deriving sustenance from Mother Earth's bountiful gifts. Hard work, but I pulled through. Growing just like a boy, I see. How tall are you now? I guess about 180 centimeters. But, Aunt Nazi, that's where you're supposed to say, heck, sounds like all you did was eat. Huh? Oh, I'm sorry. After a short pause, she did laugh with me, but it seems she couldn't quite figure out what she was supposed to be laughing at. This woman is Aunt Natsuhi. And let's go ahead and look at her bio. Natsuhi. Okay. Kraus's wife manages the household of the Ushiromiya head family in place of her husband, who takes little interest. For this family conference, again, she was the one who took charge of making all the preparations and arrangements, possesses a strong sense of responsibility and a great deal of pride. However, neither her husband nor his siblings understand her very well, so her position is far from enviable. She's the wife of the eldest son of the family, meaning she's my father's older brother's wife. Is it simpler if I just call her Jessica's mother? It feels bad to say it like this, but while I didn't exactly dislike her, I didn't particularly like her either. She hardly ever spoke with us kids, and all my memories of her involve her talking to the adults about complicated things with a scary look on her face. In fact, since we hardly ever exchanged words, I spent a long time trying to figure out how I should approach her, though my efforts seem to have ended in failure. The silverware sat neatly on the table, but the meal itself hadn't been brought in yet. As a general rule, you couldn't start a meal until the person sitting at the head of the table arrived. So as long as grandfather didn't come, lunch would be put on hold indefinitely. Not in the event the appetizers would arrive. Simply put, the silence in this room was caused by our parents enduring their hunger while they waited for grandfather to arrive. However, the grandfather from my memories would always show up on time to meals like this. He was the kind of person who would never be so late that it kept everyone waiting, especially after the entire group had arrived. Grandfather's pretty late. As far as I can remember, he was always strict about time. Well, that might have been true 6 years ago, but it hasn't been that way lately. In fact, he's off in his own little world so often that he doesn't even show up at family meals. Still, I figured he'd at least come down today. Then again, I feel a lot more relaxed and happy without him. Jessica! When her mother scolded her, Jessica stuck out her tongue and looked away. No way around it. Might as well wait until her host arrives. When I glanced at the clock, I saw that it almost was 12:20. Ushiromiya Kenzo, the aged family head of the Ushiromiya head family. Bio. The aged head of the Ushiromiya family, brimming with energy despite being pronounced to have only a short time left to live. Amassed a vast fortune, but has never made any announcement about his inheritance, which worries his children. Strongly influenced by the West and a rabid fan of the occult, his study is packed with mysterious grimoires. This man... Oh, wait a minute. This man could be seen in his study. The clock had already passed noon, but he didn't even attempt to rise from his seat. With his spectacles on, he built up a growing pile of books with elaborate bindings, which he then read intently. You couldn't really say that he was having too much fun to stop. Rather, he filled the room with a sense of impatience, or perhaps a sense of impending danger, as though every second wasted was a tragedy. In the sealed room, a dense dust danced through the air, which was thick with the stench of chemicals that exuded a mix of suspicious odors. Those odors were somehow sweet and heavy. If anyone with a normal nose came in here, the first thing they'd do would be to open a window and ventilate this room. The knocking against the study door had been going on for a while. A voice calling "Father" sometimes mingled with the knocks. As Kenzo heaved a deep sigh, he snapped shut the old book in his hands and slammed it on the table. Then he yelled at Kraus, who was still knocking on the door. "Silence! Enough with that racket, you fool! Who told you the door would be opened if you but knocked? I'll crucify the imbecile!" There is some debate about this translation. There are sources that say that the actual translation should be, "Who told you the door would be opened if you but knocked? They crucified that imbecile." Make of that what you will. Do you wish to suffer the same fate? Yeah, given the preceding line, or the succeeding line, I think that second interpretation makes sense.
Father, this is the day of the family conference, which happens only once a year, is it not? Everyone's gathered down below. Please come out.
Kraus called out to his father through the door. Kenzo always shut himself up in the study, hating it when nearly anyone, even his family, entered the room. For that reason, Kraus had no choice but to call to him from the corridor like this. "Molest me not! Just who is this everyone of which you speak? Do you mean the fools trying to drag me out of here? Then kill them all! Tear them apart! Use their bodies for firewood and feed them into the witch's hearth! Put a pot in that hearth to boil the wormwood! Force the imbeciles who dare try to lure me out of here to drink the broth of the apocalypse! I will soak their dregs in liquor! Ah! Where is Genji? Call for Genji! Have my demonic absinthe prepared! The whispering of the green fairy reaches to me no longer. Ah, where is Genji? Bring him here! On the other side of the door, Kraus, Nanjo, and Genji kept waiting for the master of the house, who stubbornly refused to come out.
Looks like he hates me to the core. My voice doesn't reach him anymore.
Kraus shrugged as though saying it's no use and smiled bitterly. From the beginning, he hadn't really expected his father to respond to his calls. However, since it was the duty of the eldest son, he had tried as a formality.
Kinzo-san, your sons, daughters, and grandchildren have come to see you, have they not? Could you just let them see your face, if only for a short while?
Shut up! Be silent! You dare to admonish me, Nanjo? I never told anyone to get you, I told them to get Genji! Now call for him immediately! Time is short, the apostles are already readying their trumpets. Why do you not understand this, you foolish sheep?
Kenzo slammed an old heavy book against the table over and over. That racket clearly expressed his great displeasure. Kenzo put his spectacles down and flew up from his chair. He spread his arms wide open as if to sing to a packed opera house, as if appealing to someone, and yelled.
Why? Why is there always something in my way? I would throw it all away. I would offer up everything, and there's only one thing I ask in repayment. Oh, Beatrice, if I could see your smile but one more time, I would plunder the smiles of the earth and offer them all up to you. Oh, commanders of the legions of locusts, reap the smiles of the earth. Everything is filthy. Everything is irksome. Why must I suffer this impediment on this most precious of days? Call for Genji.
I have no idea what he's yelling about. He's probably lost his mind by now. Kraus-san, isn't it a bit harsh to say such a thing of your own father? My father is already dead. There's nothing here but a phantom of what father once was. At any rate, as long as he has no intention of coming out, there's nothing we can do. Kinzo-san.
Choking coughs continued to pour from the study. I'm going back downstairs. It would be a waste to let the fruits of Goda's prized cooking talent get any colder. It's one of the few things our relatives can look forward to when they come to this house. Kraus spun around. He looked at his watch, mumbling and acting as though he'd wasted time doing something he knew would be in vain.
Genji-san, father's calling for you. Keep him company. Certainly. Dr. Nanjo, let's go eat. If we stay any longer, the sweet stench will ruin our sense of taste.
I need to hydrate after that Kenzo rant, my goodness. Without waiting for Nanjo, Kraus went downstairs. Genji urged Nanjo to go and eat. Nanjo glanced between the study door and Kraus's back as the latter disappeared down the stairs, and then let out a deep sigh.
Sorry, Genji-san, but please allow me to leave this in your hands. Yes, please leave it to me. Do what you can to avoid giving him alcohol. That's a habit that's far too difficult to break.
Is Genji not here yet? Who dares keep Genji from coming? Where is Genji? Call for Genji!
Please, allow me to handle the situation here. Very well. Forgive me.
Nanjo bowed slightly and descended the stairs. Genji watched him leave, then knocked on the study door.
Master, it is Genji.
Genji! Why have you kept me waiting so long? You're alone, I trust?
Correct. I am alone.
Kenzo returned to his seat in the study and pressed an old-fashioned switch on the table. After a small delay, the heavy sound of the door unlocking could be heard. Kenzo was convinced that his family wanted to make a mess of his study, Or perhaps someone had once opened the window for some air and ended up scattering things that to him were important research materials, leaving him in a terrible mood. Kinzo had outfitted his room with a formidable lock, preventing anyone from entering without his permission and thereby sealing himself in a jail of his own making. Genji, whom he trusted the most, was relatively free to enter the room, but even that didn't always hold. If Kinzo was in a bad mood, even Genji wouldn't be able to enter. Anyone else would be limited to holding a conversation through the door, unable even to see Kinzo's face. And most of the time, what they got could hardly be called a conversation. However, this didn't trouble the rest of the family much. After all, it just wasn't worth the effort to disturb this aging family head, who was impossible to please and always stayed shut away, immersed in his research. Taking advantage of his refusal to leave his room, they supported his isolation, putting his care entirely into the hands of the servants. Genji, my usual. I'm busy.
Yes, sir.
Genji headed to a corner of the study. There, suspicious-looking bottles boasting venomous colors were on display. They were actually liquor, but considering the shady atmosphere of the room, one might easily suspect them of being some ghastly poison. Inside the study, the mysterious collection of books gathered by Kinzo had grown into a mountain. They were bizarre, ancient, or banned books, all of them either forbidden, cursed, or sealed. But if you tried to call them old books, Kinzo would fly into a rage and say, "Call them grimoires!" There were also many mysterious objects that presumably held some meaning with regards to black magic, like candles suspiciously melted and molded into strange shapes. The constellations drawn on certain celestial globe contained quite a few shapes that would draw puzzled looks from anyone familiar with today's night sky. The carelessly strewn about books contained many illustrations, all of them of a religious or mysterious nature, including some depicting demonically grotesque subjects or bizarre diagrams of various magic circles. And above all, a sweet, poisonous smell filled the room, profoundly assaulting the eyes and noses of all who entered for the first time. Eventually, it must surely make a person go numb and lose their grip on reality. Inside that study, Genji prepared Kinzo's usual drink with a well-trained hand. No one would even think of drinking such an ominous dark green liquid in that complex and ornate glass unless someone first told them it was alcohol. He poured a little into the glass. Then he placed a cube of sugar in a strangely shaped spoon and poured water from a pitcher over it. Strangely, when the transparent water was poured, the dark green liquid turned a cloudy white. It was a strange optical illusion, as though the water had caused a chemical reaction and made the drink become even more unrecognizable as liquor. Then Genji added original flavors Kinzo loved, fine-tuning his taste. There was no recipe. Its success was measured only by Kinzo's mood swings and when he drank it, and it had taken Genji many decades to learn how to do it right. Genji placed the glass on a tray and walked over to Kinzo. By this time, Kinzo was gazing out the window.
Here, master.
Thank you. Kinzo has regained his composure and was now unrecognizable as the shouting, screaming, yelling man from a few moments ago. Looking at this man from behind as he tilted his glass and gazed down at the scenery beyond the window, he projected a sense of dignity and intelligence. To allow Kinzo to set his glass down at any time, Genji motionlessly waited behind Kinzo and to his left as though he were a living sideboard. Then, without averting his eyes from the window, Kinzo held out his glass. There was only a mouthful remaining. It was not a gesture intended to set it upon the tray, but a motion to hand the glass over to Genji. Drink, my friend. Your words are too kind for me. No need for ceremony between us. Drink, my friend.
Thank you.
Genji respectfully received the glass and inclined it a little to taste its contents. After that, he gulped it down. I attempted to imitate your concoction, but no matter how I try, I cannot replicate the taste. The way you make it is pure relish.
Thank you very much. It is the fruit of your guidance, master.
Genzo smiled at his loyal subject, who refused to put aside rank even when asked to. However, he was not making fun of him. His smile was relaxed, as though chuckling at a close friend's old, unshakable habit.
We have grown old together. I stopped counting the years long ago.
It is entirely thanks to you, master, that I have been able to live like this until today.
Genzo gave a faint smile, as if to say he didn't need any flattery.
Until now you have served me exceedingly well. My sons call me eccentric. The servants that were once many have all quit in fear of me. Only you serve me even now.
Your words are more than I deserve.
My life will not last much longer. My sons are vultures, lazily waiting for my inheritance to fall into their hands. Kraus is a fool who squanders money like water, who throws away 2 gold coins to obtain 1. And then he has the gall to claim that he's earned money. Ava's a slave to money who thinks of me as a mere chicken. When I die, she plans to use my bones to make a broth. That dunce Rudolph just wants to fool around with women.
Oh boy. Oh boy. That rant did a number on me, apparently. I think he's speaking metaphorically. At least I hope he's speaking metaphorically.
That dunce Rudolph just wants to fool around with women. Rosa bore the baby of a man who came from nowhere and about whom we know nothing. Jessica's incompetent and uneducated. George has none of it what it takes to be a man. Battler's a fool who threw away the honor of the Ushiromiya family.
I think I'm starting to get Broly here.
And Maria's obscene to the eye. Why is the Ushiromiya blood so incompetent? Is there no one worthy to inherit the glory I built? Oh, of course I know. This is part of Beatrice's curse. I know it. You golden witch, are you trying to take revenge against me in this way? If you want to hate me, then do so. If you want to run away, then run. I won't let you go. I won't let you go. Won't let you go. Won't let you go. You belong to me. You must always be in my arms. For all my life. You must stay in my birdcage for all eternity, whispering only to me. Beatrice, why won't you smile back at me? Oh! Beatrice! Oh!
After howling, Kenzo and the narrator choked once again. Genji set the tray and glass down and rubbed his master's back. Genji's facial expression did not change. It was always like this.
Thank you, my friend.
When his seemingly deranged fit subsided, Kenzo regained his composure once more. It was like seeing 2 different people, as a wild Kenzo and a composed Kenzo living together inside one body.
And so, I have decided. I cannot bear to spend my dimmed remaining years procrastinating like this. If I have one final coin to bet, then I choose to abandon it to the whims of the demon's roulette. The power of magic is always determined by the risk of the gamble. Like visiting a shrine at the hour of the ox in ancient Japanese sorcery to nail a cursed doll to a tree. Magical power is produced specifically because of the risk that it will be seen within the 7 days the curse takes. The greater the risk, the stronger the magical power will be. Many miracles that happen in myth might be called the crystallization of shocking magic power with a low probability of occurrence and astronomical risk. Then Moses parted the waters of the sea was not a miracle of God. The risk of that desperate situation, cornered by soldiers on the Red Sea shores, weighed upon the scales of slaughter and gave birth to that miraculous magic power. If that same thing occurred again on the same scale, the sea would surely fail to part. After all, Moses was able to magnificently summon a miracle engraved on but one of the countless innumerable results on the roulette of those with power. That is the force that can triumph over astronomical odds. Indeed, good fortune that can grasp miracles as magical power itself. To obtain this mighty power, one must face the risk of a despair. Those who possess no magical power may call that desperation rather than a bet. However, people who truly do possess magic power can grasp hold of that miracle and make the enigma come into being. And if that power exists within me, I'll seize that miracle. I'll have a chance at making the wish I devoted my life towards come true.
Kenzo looked up to the sky outside the window. He spread his arms as if appealing to someone up in the skies.
If only I were capable of grasping that miracle. Oh, Beatrice! Beatrice, show me your lovely smile once more. No matter how much time passes, your face does not vanish. I just want to see your smile, that is all. I'll return everything you granted me. I'll return all the glory I've gained since that day. I don't need fortune, prestige, or gold. I'll return everything you gave me. I just want to see your smile. I beg you, Beatrice. Oh!
His nonsensical yells became a scream, and then a wail. Kenzo slumped to the floor, tearing at it with both hands. Genji had no choice but to wordlessly watch over his master's lamentations.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the family head's health is not at its best. He seemed extremely sad not to be able to share lunch with you all now that you have gathered for this event that occurs but once a year. Gora, let the lunch begin.
Certainly, I shall begin today's luncheon. Dr. Nanjo, is father's condition really that bad? Couldn't he have at least let us see his face?
It's more of a problem of mood than a physical condition, and for that there's no medicine I can prescribe.
Hey, are we talking about his mood again? You've got to be kidding me. We took time out of our schedules during this damn busy autumn season just to come and find out how he's doing. And now he's...
Then you should be happy, Rudolph. You know how he's doing. You now know how he's doing. Or what, would you rather take my place and try to persuade our ill-humored father to come join us?
Are you kidding? Rudolph shrugged. Apparently, though Rudolph was willing to be indignant about how self-centered his father was, he wasn't particularly disappointed to be spared a face-to-face meeting. Does it seem like his mood will improve before dinner? Krausny-san?
I have no idea. If you want to know that, you should ask him directly. Although I think his mood will improve faster if we don't bother him.
Genji-san's the only one who can get grandfather out of a funk. It's pretty pathetic, though, making the servants deal with your own parents' bad mood.
Jessica, don't speak out of turn.
She'd planned for her complaint to be heard only by her cousins, but it had reached even Krause's ears. Scolded, Jessica scowled and turned away, sulking. If he's as cranky as they make him sound, he can't be that terribly sick, right? I mean, they're saying he's in a bad mood, not that he's got no energy, which at least proves he's got his wits about him. It's because grandfather has especially strong willpower. However, that doesn't necessarily mean his body will be able to keep up. Since last year, they keep saying that he has 3 months left. If the initial diagnosis was correct, grandfather's been prolonging his life by willpower alone. It's right for us to worry about him. Lunch started with the family's head seat still empty. The
The man who should be sitting there had already grown old, and the brilliant glory which had rebuilt the Ushiromiya family in the span of a single lifetime was being forgotten. Even though they were beginning the meal with that seat still empty, no one felt it was that odd anymore. I think that is a good place to call it quits for tonight because, yeah, my voice needs some time to rest after that rant. My goodness. I think that was even more painful. Yeah, the first one was one thing, but that one is... Ow. Alright, so yeah, I will be back on Wednesday. I will hopefully be able to get some more progress made in Ace Attorney then. Let me see who's online. Okay. Alright, we'll go ahead and give Night Hex a raid. But yeah, this is Dr. Novelle signing out for the evening. Thank you all so much for joining me tonight. Hope you all have a good weekend and a good few days in between the time I stream next. Beginning the raid now.